welcome back to the TVBinges.com Pilot Roundtable, a Southgate Media Group podcast. I'm Kyle Tremblay, the editor of TVBinges.com, and I'm joined as always by a fellow TV Binges writer. She's been possessed by a demon with strong opinions on television. It's Olivia Richards! Hello!
Shh, don't tell anyone. They weren't supposed to know.
That's your secret. It's your...
It is.
Actually, a demon is informing all your opinions.
Basically.
So... today, we're talking about Fox's take on a classic horror movie. It's called The Exorcist. Olivia, what did you think?
Oh my god. Okay, so I think this might be my new Hannibal.
Oh, really?
I kind of, there was like a 60-40 chance that I was not going to like it. Like, I was really worried about the tone that the show would take, but I really like that it leaned in the more, like, psychological thriller direction than just straight horror. So I loved it.
That's interesting. I didn't like it.
Really?
Yeah, which is weird for us, because I think I was much more inclined to like it. Because I'm a sort of horror movie fan, and I generally like stuff, and there were parts of this that I thought were scary. There were really good scary scenes. But I thought it was boring. I thought it was, I don't know, like, how to dress that up. I liked moments. I think the show has potential. But I just thought it was boring. I just didn't, I don't know. Like, well, tell me what you liked about it. Maybe I'll come around. I didn't hate it. I just didn't really like it. So what worked for you about this?
I think first and foremost, I was really excited to see Gina Davis again.
Okay.
So I think just having her on screen, anytime that, she's on screen, it's just automatically going to be captivating. I really liked the lead that they had to play Father Tomas. I think his name is Alfonso Herrera. I thought he was really, really interesting to watch, and I think he brought a lot to the character that I want to know more about this character. And I kind of like how they left, initially at least, the demonic possession to be more ambiguous, so that you kind of see that there's a lot of other problems happening within this family, and you kind of are piecing together that it could be a demonic possession, and then there are other issues taking place within the household, and having to hear Davis's character explain that she's not crazy for thinking that this is happening, and she's trying to basically explain where she's coming from. I thought that was a really interesting moment to watch. But I don't know, I just think it was a lot of different elements. And again, I like that it didn't play for, like, the jump scares or the straight horror. I like how it kind of went the more, like, psychological route.
To be fair, there was a raven flying into a window during a very quiet scene. They did a few jump scares in this episode. But yeah, I get it. It's environmental horror. It's about the environment and the creepiness of it all, and I like that. And there were sort of atmospheric elements of this episode that I really liked. I don't know if I agree that it was playing its cards particularly close to the vest regarding the possession. I think the sort of recurring dreams that we were seeing from Father Tomas about sort of visions of the exorcism and the guy, and then he meets him at the end of this episode. I had a very strong sense from the start that we were clearly dealing with something demonic here. And I don't think there was ever any real concerted effort to establish something to the contrary. Yes, they did talk about issues in the family, but again, we're seeing demonic dreams throughout the episode. And, like, the mother, like, I didn't get any sense that the mother was, like, making it up. I think for me, what would have really made this more interesting is if there was a chance that it wasn't a demonic possession. I think that would have been a lot more of an interesting angle to take, and to have it be a little bit more of a mystery. I guess they could only hold that out for so long.
Yeah.
But it just, to me, a lot of this felt like a little paint by numbers. like a little bit like we're going from scene to scene, and we're sort of establishing the characters, and then we've got to kind of wrap it all up for the end, and we've got to have this big finish with a big possession scare. Like, I felt like the start of this episode was very slow paced, and I kind of dug that, and then it sort of quickly shifted into another gear and sort of started throwing the scares at you. And by the end of the episode, we know who is possessed. We know that she is possessed. We kind of know all the stuff, like what we sort of learned the whole thing. And I felt like this was like, obviously it's hard for a pilot not to sort of give the big hook right away, but I don't think this was like a particularly well-paced hour. And that we sort of got to the material they needed to get to, by hurdling over a lot of the stuff that could have helped the atmosphere even more, and maybe would have helped build up the scares a little bit more, for when they came.
I do agree with that. I think I definitely agree that the hour did feel a little bit rushed, especially with the twist that they gave at the end. So
yeah.
The time they had us going that Kat was the daughter who was like the moody teenager, which from now on, if I ever see that trope, I just want to assume that it's demonic possession, and it'll just make me feel better.
Like Dana Brody from Homeland.
Exactly. So if I ever see like the moody teenage girl trope, I'm just gonna like call demonic possession, even if it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, then they put in the twist at the end that it was actually Casey, the younger daughter, who was possessed the entire time. And that, Kat is going through her own thing after the loss of her friend and is possibly showing signs. Like if they had brought that in even like midway through the season, that would have been a lot, I think, more compelling as opposed to introducing it so early on.
Because we had literally one scene where the two of them talked to each other to that point. And it was actually like, it's a good twist. I certainly wasn't predicting it, but then I wasn't paying super close attention by that point. but it's like, to me, either make the first episode about them and their situation and their relationship, and then spring that twist in the first episode, or hold the twist off to episode 3 or 4. I think so much of this was about Father Tomas. And so much of it was his journey and going through all this, that to me, the family really was an afterthought in this hour. And the family, in my mind, is where the horror is going to lie, because we want to care about them. We want to care about their plight. And I didn't find any of them particularly likable. Like, I don't think any of them are being played for likability. And I think our sympathies lie with the priest in this case. And I think that's a little bit backwards. I feel like the priest should be kind of a neutral character in this, and that the family is where our focus should have been, at least leading up to that reveal. Because I wanted to get to know them better. I wanted, and I'm sure we'll get to know the demon obviously now, and that's going to be the whole dynamic where the father knows what's going on, but doesn't want to tell the family, and the daughter who's possessed is sort of playing dumb. It's like, I don't know if that's the most interesting way for this story to go. Like, to me, like, I get what you say with Hannibal. Like, that would be the comparison I would make too. But it's also like, it doesn't have the Hannibal thing where it's like mind blowing. It's like the Hannibal thing was like, the visuals on that show are incredible and like often distressing and gross, but also beautiful, and it's like nothing you've ever seen before. And the horror on Hannibal is so real and visceral. It's the kind of show that would go from a 4-minute long scene at an opera where there's no dialogue, just operatic music, to the goriest thing you've ever seen on television. And I have no sense of The Exorcist being that. I mean, there was some sort of imagery here, especially with those dream sequences, which seemed to be actual visions that the priest was having. But it wasn't like, if you watched the Hannibal pilot, it's like that had that went way further, both in terms of gore, but also in terms of sort of deriving beauty from it, which to me was the defining trait of Hannibal. And if you took that away from Hannibal, maybe you're left with this show, which is kind of like a shell of Hannibal.
I could definitely see that, and I think part of me is disappointed that this show is on a major network and not like FX or even like Showtime or HBO, because I think that there's only so much that they can do with the horror and the like biblical and demonic imagery and like really playing that up because of, you know, the FCC and the constraints that they're under. And that to me is just a little bit disappointing, but I think with where they are, they're doing the best that they can.
Right. I mean, Hannibal obviously pushed the envelope in a way where the third episode actually was pulled from the air.
Yep.
I'm not saying this needs to be like a gore fest like that. You know, that's not the issue. But it's more just that the cinematography of Hannibal was so striking and beautiful that I think that in a way that The Exorcist is clearly going for, but it's just not on that anywhere near that level. I would say it's in the same vein. It's just not the same quality of work. And I think once you take that away, you're kind of left with a plodding, sort of herky-jerky pilot that definitely had good moments and definitely has a lot of potential. And the thing is, what I'm conflicted about is I think this show could be good. Like, I think this one by like episode 5 could be good. For me at least, but I don't know if for me it's quite there yet.
I definitely agree with that, and I think, you know, we've seen so many shows that maybe don't have the best pilot initially, and it's really hard for a show to just start off and have an amazing pilot. So I'm really hoping that once the show settles into itself and really, you know, finds its groove, then like that's when we're going to start to get some really amazing moments, and that's really what I'm holding out for.
Definitely. Well, unfortunately, it might not get that chance.
I know.
Because The Exorcist did a 1.0 in the demo with 2.49 million viewers. Now, this was a Friday night premiere, so numbers tend to be lower for Friday night, so got to take that into account. But 1.0 is probably a bad number on any night for any sort of non-CW show. So that's not especially promising. Do you think this one will be canceled quickly, make it through the season, or be renewed for another season?
I'm hoping that it's going to make it through the season, but part of me feels like it could be canceled quickly.
Yeah, they did do a lot of marketing for this one, so I wonder if they're going to abandon it quick. There's clearly like a lot of money on screen.
Yeah.
In terms of, you know, it does look good. I don't mean to belittle it too much. I mean, it's unfair to compare a show to Hannibal. I'll say that right up front. Like, in terms of the looks, it's just unfair, but I think, you know, had that, I would have probably liked it quite a bit more. Yeah, I'm gonna say it doesn't make it through the season. I don't think it'll necessarily be quick, but I don't think it's gonna get through its whole season. So we'll see. So your final verdict, Olivia, thumbs up or thumbs down on The Exorcist?
For whatever it's worth, I'm going to give this a thumbs up. That I think I did enjoy the pilot and whatever we're going to see moving forward.
You'll probably be right in the end. I'll probably come around on this one. I just, the pilot left me a little cold. But I suspect, I think in a few episodes it'll probably get its sea legs and be a pretty good show. But for now it's a thumbs down for me. I can't give a thumbs up to a pilot that I didn't really like. But it's not an emphatic thumbs down by any means.
Fair enough.
So you've been listening to the Pilot Roundtable, a TVBinges.com and Southgate Media Group production. You can listen to all of our episodes on iTunes, where you can rate and review us. We'd appreciate that. Or find us at SouthgateMediaGroup.com. Follow Olivia on Twitter at RichardsOlivia and me on Twitter at KyleLovesTV. Till next time.